Welcome to Spooky John's Ghost Walks. Come and join us on a walk around Fareham and investigate some of the history, the hauntings, the myths and the legends. Well, the tour started about 20 years ago, almost as a little bit of a joke. Somebody asked me to take them on a tour around Fareham, knowing my interest in hauntings and that sort of thing. They mentioned it to other people, and like Topsy, it grew. And it's grown to the situation where it is today, whereas almost as soon as I post on my Facebook when the next walk's going to be, it's virtually all sold out within a matter of a couple of days or so.
So how many tours are you doing a year?
Again, it does vary. Obviously this last year we haven't been able to do many, but usually we try and aim for about one every 6 weeks or so.
And have you always been interested in the supernatural and ghosts?
Yes, it all kicked off back about 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and after that it's just been something that I've been interested in, but possibly not always the showcase type things that you see on television and that sort of thing, but trying to treat it as serious. We treated what we do as being serious. Many years ago I was walking around the back of this building here because I was aware of some spirit presence. Whilst I was there, the owner of the then shop came and asked me what I was doing. When I said, she said, "Right, come with me now." I was dragged in up the stairs to the top room, and she said, "Please, can you do something about this? My staff do not like to come up here on their own. They're quite often terrified. They feel that they're being watched. They feel that they're under pressure." And we found there had been an argument between two lovers. The argument had gone across to the back window. Now at the moment the top windows are bricked up, but this was due to the window tax in the 1600s, and this was before that date. There was an argument at the back corner by an open window. The girl was pushed. She went through the window, and even though it's not a very high building, she fell, broke her neck, died. The man who was in the militia was arrested, but whilst he was awaiting sentence, ran off, came back here, and in remorse hanged himself from the back window. I was asked to do something about this in my role as a paranormal investigator, and we did a clearance, and from then on, fortunately, it's all stayed quiet. Just across the road we have Chive's house, the oldest building in the high street. Now the owner, Henry Polk, has been aware of an entity in the building, and it was seen by his head chef, but also by his waitressing staff. So it'll be interesting to find out what is going on there.
I have never experienced it, but many people who've visited this house have claimed that they sense an apparition, or they claim to have seen an apparition. And it's always a woman in a blue cloak or blue vestments. Anyway, it's this part of the hall where they've often seen her or sensed a presence. I am completely not a believer in any of it, but it was very strange. We had to have new coat racks put up, hooks, because in the 1970s everybody started wearing these sheepskin coats. They're very heavy and they dragged the old hooks off the wall, and I got Crodes, the local builders, to come in and put up these boards. But when they took the old down, a lot of the wall came away, and they came to me and said, "Could you come and have a look?" And here there was an alcove, but it was, you looked down into it. The wall came up to here, but you looked down into it, and in it was what looked like a blue blanket. It was very strange. As we watched, I suppose it was oxidizing, it changed to brown and then collapsed, and I tried to pick some up and it was like trying to pick up a cobweb. Anyway, this is the solid part of the wall, and they just covered over where the alcove was, and you can hear that bit is hollow. I didn't ask them to keep it. I couldn't incorporate it into the wall. All I was interested in was that we had decent hold-ups to put the coats on. At one time, we had a member of staff who used to come in early into the kitchen to prepare all his stuff because he made the starters, and there was quite a lot of preparatory work to do. And he was one who reckoned he'd seen this apparition on at least 3 occasions, and the first time he came to me rather crossly and he said, "Who is that woman who keeps looking at me through this door window? Is she checking up on me?" I said, "There isn't a woman here. What do you want about, Neil?" I said, "Well, what does she look like?" He said, "Well, I can feel her looking at me, and every time I look up, she turns away. So all I see is the blue hood that she's wearing."
Here we are at Union Street. I think it's safe to say that this is the shortest street in Fareham, and it's had quite a checkered history. It used to be the red light district in Fareham, and in the 1830s there was a prostitute called Mary Roberts who was battered to death here, and we quite often get sightings reported. The Union Workhouse, when it was closed, was turned into a pub. The house next to it was also turned into a pub, as was the house next to that. So a place quite happily to go and quench one's thirst. Down the far end of Union Street, and there's a debate on which building it actually was the old Napoleonic prison for the Napoleonic prisoners of war, and they were marched up from where they were landed at Lower Quay and brought up here and incarcerated. We are now off to Bath Lane Wreck. This was the site of the death of 3 children, all under 5, in 1928. They were killed on the railway line. They are all buried in Wickham Road Cemetery, and they all share one plot, which is quite sad to see, but they're all there. Their names are all shown individually.
Tell me where the tours are.
We do one round Fareham, which starts off by the civic offices and finishes up down here at Lower Quay. We do another one round the outside of Porchester Castle, and we also do Knoll Village.
Okay, which is the most popular one?
They're all quite popular. A lot of people like the one down at Porchester. Knoll Village seems to be one of the most popular at the moment.
And have you ever seen any ghosts on these tours?
Yes, in fact, in this alleyway here we've got something on camera.
And how many ghosts are there in Fareham?
Oh, it's very difficult to say because we get reports come up virtually every month of certain things, so we have to go and we decide on either the regularity of reports or if there's a regular date keep cropping up, and then that's when we decide whether we'll go and investigate.
So how many investigations have you carried out?
Over the years, I suppose we must have carried out about 60.
Which was the most spookiest?
An old manor house just outside Fareham, where the basement, the floors there were no hard floors, it was all earth floors, and that was absolutely superb.
What actually happened then?
Well, what I found, I was asked if I'd found anything on the stairwell, and I said only the young girl that hanged herself from the banister here, and that was actually proven. The caretaker said yes, that actually happened.
Wow, and you didn't know anything about that?
You'd never been there before in my life.
was one night on security patrol, and I went into the galley to get myself a cup of coffee. When up at the top of the stairs behind me, I saw an apparition. I can only assume that it was a French naval officer in light blue uniform. It didn't frighten me, it didn't make me scared or anything. I said hello to it and he just faded. I can only assume that this is one of the French naval officers that were incarcerated here in the hospital. Another strange happening in the club was that the dogs belonging to members of the club used to be no more than a couple of inches from the heels of their owners. It seemed to be that dogs are more sensitive to the spirit world than we are.
Now, you're a well-known character in Fareham. I mean, people sort of always are shouting out, "Hi, Spooky John, can I book a tour?"
Yes, this is, it's not only around Fareham. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was visiting my son in Spain. I was just walking up to some shops there, and all of a sudden there were some people coming out one of the bars, said, "Hello, Spooky, what are you doing over here?" You know, but yes, quite well known. I sometimes think it's a little bit like the old Kenneth Williams line, you know, infamy, infamy, they've all got it infamy. But yeah, it's nice though, because people come back and they book on the tours and they tell their friends that they've enjoyed it, and this is how it goes.
And which is your favourite haunted place in Fareham?
I think this one is one of my favourites, this alleyway here.
So John, tell me about this alley. Where are we and what's it all about?
Well, it used to be known as Frenchman's Alley, and it was where the Napoleonic prisoners were marched up to the prison, which was situated approximately where Soot Hills now is. And if you look in a lot of the books on haunted Fareham, they all actually show or report of a man walking or running up here. Could be a Napoleonic soldier, we're not sure, but we have actually, on one of my earlier ghost walks, we did catch something on camera.
Is the sighting frequent?
It does tend to vary. It comes in fits and starts. Sometimes you'll hear nothing for ages and all of a sudden I'll get a call, we've seen that thing down at Frenchman's Alley again.
And what does this thing look like?
Well, on the picture what we've actually got a head, shoulder and body.
Wow, that's exciting, isn't it?
It's like a white shroud and it's a head, and I've had it looked at and I've been told it's not smoke, it's not breath, it's not mist, it is cellular.
So it's a ghost?
Well, we can only make from it what we will.
And it appeared in this alley?
Yes.
Wow.
Hopefully you'll appreciate we've only been able to show you a small part of our walks and our tours at this stage. To find out how to book and when the tours are on, please go to Facebook to Spooky John's Ghost Walks. I would emphasise at this point that all the money which we raise from these walks all go to local charities. Thank you very much.